alhamdulillah ala tento kola yudi bila alfa wolo ya ta busanga bango mo sonde ma wodum manke kan senti ala ya wol sonde ma di ko bela kulo sanja mane tambe de man sayangi nola mariana bila mansi tumba usenu dabo di ko bela kulo nya ko bela kulo nanna bela kulo mana ba man sayata kumo bela moyin ko ita man sayana dabo ni wala ta man sayana dabo le ba kulo Gambia for the Giri. And the Fazia, Gambia for the moment. I'm coming back in Nabancoka. And the Fazia.
Thank you all. We are very pleased for those that have prioritized to be with us here at the earliest possible. That is the time that was communicated. That the event will start. That was 10 o'clock. So we must say that thank you all for being with us here today. This is an event that is organized by the Students' Wing of the United Democratic Party. The event is dubbed the Students' Technocrat Convergence. And here with us, we have esteemed and well-versed speakers. And to introduce the speakers from my far left, Ismaila Fadera. Right. So next to him is Dr. Lamin Mane. Is also going to speak on a topic that is carved and given to him. Next to him is Honorable Lare Sisay, also a speaker that will speak on a topic given to him. So yes, without much ado, as always or a custom in the United Democratic Party, before we enter into any event or before we start anything that have to do with our convergence, we observe prayers, and this event will not be an exception. I would like us to at least use few minutes of our time to pray in our own ways, please. Well, thank you once again. As I said earlier, this event is one of the most important events because this event involves the youth. And as we all know, youths are the most important part in any organization because youths are the cream of any progressive organization, which the United Democratic Party is not an exception. So converging young intellectuals to come and listen, interact, and share ideas with the technocrats of the party is something that the party is indeed pleased. And we, as the student wing executive, the reason why we believe this is timely is because we are heading into 2026 and we all know what will happen in 2026. So preparing the young intellectuals to go out there to spread the information from the right sources is something that we believe it's needed at this material time. So if we could all remember what Chino Achebe said, where are the young suckers that will replace the old bananas when they dry up? So this day is a memorial day because it's a day that the United Democratic Party can look up to. The young suckers who are ready to take up the positions when the old bananas that we have dried up. So it's something that we should be pleased with as young intellectuals, that this party is a progressive party. We look up to individuals who maybe in the nearest future might not be as active as they are today. So coming here to learn from them, to learn or have first-hand information about the ideas of the party, the position that the party have since its inception, is something that we should not trade anything with. So Ismaila Fadera, as the president of the UDP Students' Wing, will give the opening remarks or the welcoming remarks to welcome you all here today. So Ismaila, you are welcome here.
Advocates and distinguished technocrats to engage in a robust discussion, shared knowledge, and inspired actions. This platform is not just a gathering, it is a movement towards shaping a brighter and a more inclusive future of our country. We have carefully outlined a series of discussions around four pivotal themes that are at the heart of our mission. One, the power of the ballot box, mobilizing students for civic participation. Two, the UDP 5-point agenda. Three, representation matters, ensuring women's participation in decision-making process. Four, journey of a movement, where we will trace UDP's contribution to national development. As we embark on this day of learning and engagement, I encourage you all to actively participate, ask questions, and share your perspective. Ask and share your perspectives. Your voice matters, and your contributions are invaluable in the discourse we are fostering here today. In closing, I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone who has worked tirelessly to bring this event to life. Your dedication and passion are the driving forces behind our success. Let us seize this opportunity to connect, learn, and grow together, and let us carry forward the values of democracy, justice, and equality that the UDP stands for. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to the Mighty UDP Students Technocrat Convergence. Let's make history together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for those brilliant, remarks. We are so much happy that you are here with us and then sharing this information that the ideas, the burning issues that made us look into this issue and then converging students. So as he said earlier, this should be a dialogue or an interactive sessions because you all are from institutions. So if you're having your books or anything on you that you can write a question, maybe because our speakers will be speaking on a topic, and then if you have a question, maybe at the end of his presentation, you'll be given maybe a few minutes to ask questions, and then they will shed light on the perspectives that you so wish. So moving forward, we want to go or delve into the program proper. So we will start with our first speaker, who is Mr. Lare Sisay. Mr. Lare Sisay is a retired senior manager at the UNDP, and he is also a diplomat who have served in the Gambia, home and abroad. His face is very familiar in initiatives like this. Whenever he is called to share, and interact with the young minds of this country, he is always available. And then we really appreciate his attendance here. And I'm looking forward to an insightful, presentation. So you all can, have your pens ready in case you have any questions for him. So, Mr. Lare Sisay, you are welcome here.
Everybody, Alsam. When Ismaila called me to talk about this event, that is, after communicating with him, I realized that the student wing and our youth wing, together with the women's wing, probably will be the future of the UNDP. And to have him organize and his team organize something like this is commendable. Let's commend them for the foresight that went into preparing it, the subject matter that is to be discussed, as well as the intention to educate and to share ideas. Smaila and your team, thank you very much. You know, when he said I will be dealing with students and civic participation or engagement, it took me back to my final year undergraduate studies. Because development economics, you needed to take a course on civic mobilization. And I went back and rethought some of the steps and the seminars that we had taken. And I realized, wow, this is a great opportunity to share some of these ideas with these students. Now, I'm going to start by asking us to please underline two things about civic mobilization, civic participation. Political awareness is one, and active participation is another. Let's underline those two because we're going to go back to them. Political awareness and active participation. It's one thing to be aware of your political environment, the issues related to that environment, your very social ecosystem in which you function, but it's another thing to actively participate to have an impact. You notice I'm not talking about change. I'm just saying your awareness level and the level at which you participate to impart that awareness to your communities. The second thing is there are 5 good examples of civic engagement. These examples theoretically usually form the basis for when politicians and economists go in the field to mobilize communities to see things the way they want them to see it. The other 2 items I want you to underline under that framework also is activism and advocacy. Political awareness, active participation, activism, and advocacy. Now, activism and advocacy is a type of civic engagement which occurs when citizens band together to support a cause or an issue. I'll repeat that. Activism and advocacy are defined as the type of civic engagement which occurs when citizens band together to support a cause or an issue. In other words, Smaila, when we get out of here today, you'll be equipped to deal with issues like corruption. You'll be equipped with issues like bad governance, malfeasance. You'll be equipped to deal with um, issues of policy that the government should be focusing on, but is not focusing on. You'll be able to go out there and actually advocate for people to think about those things rather than the issues that we know the other side tends not to talk about. Now, the activism and advocacy context hinges around 4 things. 1, community service and volunteering, or what you call volunteerism, community education and awareness, public art projects. Now, for us in Africa, Gambia in particular, this is a very important part of community activism that we do not utilize, using the fine arts to actually send a message to communities. The Senegalese are very good at this, and we see it on their TV and online activities. So public art projects are also an integral part of communicating the kind of change that you want to communities. The big one, electoral participation. You know, we talk about political awareness, active participation, activism, advocacy, and all of that. And the 4 issues that are the foundation for those activities. But political participation is something that we take for granted. And if you look at the 2021 election, a lot of UDP people were out there participating actively to send the message, to disseminate the message, for people to go out and vote, and hopefully vote for UDP. But come election day, it's a different story. We don't tend to come out and vote. If we come out and vote, that's the end of it. You vote, you go sit at home. You do not protect that vote that you just cast. And political participation for me ends when you go through a campaign stream. After the campaign stream, you go and vote. After you vote, you stay there to make sure that your vote is counted. And if your vote is counted, no hanky-panky is done with it. I think one of the biggest lessons I have learned, and my colleagues, we talk about this quite a bit, is the fact that after we voted, we are so confident that we are going to win. We didn't stay to make sure that our votes are actually counted, tabulated, and announced transparently, freely, and fairly. We left. Even some of our polling agents left. Because I got into my car and I drove around a lot of polling stations around Kudang, and I realized that our guys have gone home. So whatever was announced between the IEC and the other side. We were not there. And for me, that is the biggest lesson that we have when it comes to political participation. Now, political participation also has about 4 components to it. Political engagement. When you participate is one thing, but when you engage in order to change minds and to influence the thinking of the individuals that you are talking to, for them to see the things that you are talking about, what I call the kind of mindset change that we want in our people, in our supporters to say, it is one thing to participate. It is one thing to be aware. But at the end of the day, what are you doing with that participation and awareness? And I think the penultimate question you should be asking yourselves is, to what extent has my mind changed so that I can influence the minds of A, B, C, D, E? Because your mind has to change first. The mindset change has to happen with you first. Before you can argue, you can persuade people to see things the way you want them to see it. And in so doing, you are also changing the mindset of the people that you are communicating with. Political engagement. Electoral participation consists of political engagement, and social justice engagement. What do we mean by that? I think we are all on the same page regarding political participation, political engagement, political and community engagement. How about the civic skills? Civic skills and engagement. Do we know what we are talking about? Civics, I think in primary school there are courses called civics. And in those courses, they try to teach you things that governments ought to be doing or should be doing. Now, that same civic skills, civic engagement skills, can translate to your political engagement skills. So if you don't know what you are talking about, essentially that's what this is saying. If you don't know what you are talking about, chances are that you may not be able to convince the guys you are talking to for change to happen. You have to know what you are talking about, and you have to be convincing about what you are talking about, and your knowledge and depth of understanding of that subject matter has to be demonstrated enough for you to change the mindsets of people. Social justice engagement. What do we mean by social justice engagement? This is a broad concept that deals with the justice system as it applies to society. Those of you who follow the social media, and for lack of a better example, I will use the Aisha Fati case. Now, that lady, poor lady, had a relationship with an individual who is powerful, well connected, has money. Now, the relationship broke, and he went after her. Our social justice system could not deal with it here. And it goes up to the courts. And even the courts cannot deal with it yet. She crosses the border, goes into Senegal. She gets arrested, taken to court. Same charges. 2 days ago, the Senegalese courts released her. No case to answer. Perfect example of social justice engagement. If society is unable to take care of what is wrong and use what is wrong to make it right, social justice will never be achieved. And personally, I have always respected our courts. I still have enormous respect for our judges, our lawyers, and our legal system. But you know, guys, I now have a big question mark. And my question mark is around the issue of social justice engagement. Again, 2021, when we went to the elections, we are told we lost. Putting together what we think is our lawyers call incontrovertible evidence to show that we won the election. A petition was prepared, and that petition had X number of evidence to show that the irregularities were many. And I think the party leader used the Jambur case, where people were not only registered outside of the legally accepted registration time frame, they were also registered in the evenings, some of them at night. And what these guys didn't figure out was, when you register somebody, the machine not only captures the individual's details, it captures the date, the time you registered, and the day. So those evidences were put into the petition we sent to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court used a technicality to not discuss the case, to not even see the case. They struck it down on a technicality. Now, the social justice angle of that is that anybody can sit and question whether or not that decision of the court to not hear that case serves social justice or not. If you look at it and you say it serves social justice, it's fine. Others can look at it and say the fact that they have not adjudicated on the case, they have not even opened a docket on it, shows that social justice hasn't been done. So each of these categories that I have mentioned involves different activities, and they all aim to promote active participation in various areas of civic life. Every one of these. I gave a copy to Smiler, but now the internet is there. If you Google civic education, civic participation, community engagement, you'll come across all these ideas, and it's up to you to boil them down to your specific situation and your specific environment. But these are the core issues that our students, our party members, all of us should be engaged in if we want to communicate properly, and if we want to educate and change minds regarding the party and its philosophy and values. Now, the textbook definition of civic engagement. Civic engagement is working to make a difference in the civic life of one's community and developing the combination of knowledge, skills, values, and motivation to make a difference. I will repeat it. Civic engagement is defined as ways as supporters of UDP when we go out there to campaign, when we go out there to convince people to vote for us. Now, all of these things are done within the context that UDP has, as a political organization, has a value system. And I don't think we talk about this value system a whole lot. We often talk about UDP being the party that stands with the poor, the powerless, the marginalized, and the voiceless. But all of those happen within a value context. That value context should be that each one of us, individually, each one of us, we have to believe that we are part of something. That something is UDP. And that something is bigger than ourselves. If your value system is anchored on understanding that the organization you are dealing with, you are part of, is something, but that something is bigger than your sum total as an individual, then you are at home on the core value system of that organization. And what is UDP's core value systems? I personally have given this a lot of thought. Aside from fighting for the poor, the powerless, the marginalized, the voiceless, our value system also revolves around, and I'm going to say this in Mandinka because it resonates, but I have also tried to translate it into English. Our value system, our core values are kalimania, limania, kawasa, aninkatiling, limania, kawasa, aninkatiling. I think these are the foundations upon which UDP was built. Because the people who formed the party were parties that were all banned by Ajame by decree. And it is the Limania, Waso, and Intilingo, that's what got all those parties to come together to form an organization that can fight the dictatorship. And I think of all the Gambians that have fought that dictatorship, there is none among them that has these three core value systems more than UDP. UDP ko limani atale wala ne yembute dentin bridge. UDP ko limani atale nkatonya fo wasata wala na wala tinne hanibi kan na mol mute ke soro kasembo yusika ni limania wasa mantling, we would have gone our separate ways a long time ago. But the belief in that core value system is what keeps us together, and it's what keeps us going. Now, when we go out to the communities to talk about these ideas, let us simplify them. Simplify them in a way that they can relate to. And the best way to simplify them, and we have discussed this, our small group, we have discussed this. When we go to the communities between now, when you get out of here, between now and 2026, go to the communities and talk about these core values, our Limania, Waso, and Intilim, and all of those things. But when you talk about the ruling party, the government, talk about 4 things which people will relate to and they will resonate with. What are those 4 things? One of them is the incompetence of the government. They are incompetent. Wolum kotoke sila jafojane in the press conference ko Ibrahim Adiba Muta because ako man fellow. Ako bar ni fellow. Ye governor men appointed appointment. After UDP tata court ye governor bondije ye deploy as permanent secretary. Ni fellow ite ofanankel. Because all of those things boil down to the incompetence that we are dealing with. Otherwise, what is stopping the government to go to the Attorney General's chambers and ask for a legal opinion before you make these appointments or before you make the redeployments? So let us go there, hammer these community engagement participation issues, but our 4 core issues between now and 2026, 4 things: incompetence of the government, the indifference of the government, the systemic entrenched corruption of the government, and the identity politics of the ruling party. These are the 4 core issues we need to be seized with in order to send our messages home. Now, I have dealt with the incompetence. I gave an example of it. How about indifference? The indifference is cost of living. It's the best example. Every one of us, at some point or time, we go to the marketplace to buy things. When you go to the market this Saturday, the prices will be different from the prices you paid last Saturday. And the government is not doing much about it. But forget about that one. Look at the road clearing exercise. I think everybody agrees that the main roads ought to be cleared so that traffic can flow. But when you go to side roads into the garages in Brikama and destroy people's properties, that is indifferent. You are indifferent to the fact that these are poor, powerless, voiceless, marginalized people. That's why you are doing what you are doing. Now, the systemic corruption, I don't know where to even begin with that one. It is so systemic, it is so entrenched, it is so chronic. All you have to do is, now I realize when I go to the village in Kudang and I go to the surrounding villages and we are talking about politics, they will actually tell me, "Sign corruption, no understand." You don't need to translate it for me. And if you want to test their acumen on it, and you ask them, give me 1 or 2 examples of what you know are corrupt, and they'll give you 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 10. So when you see that you know the system is intrinsically corrupt, and it's like a rat race. Those who can get richer, faster, quicker are doing it. because they know any government that comes after this government, forget about UDP, any government that comes after this government is going to find a system that is rotten from the core. And it is rotten from the core because of the corrupt nature of the system. Now, identity politics, we've talked about this. From 2020, the famous Dembo Bifo statements, the other statements that the NPP is saying. Now, we know the NPP is the party that is pushing identity politics on Gambians. But they are saying we are the Mandinka party. And I think we should go out there and say, no, we are not the Mandinka party. We are the most inclusive, heterogeneous party in the country. The party that is tribal, the party that is driving a wedge between Gambians is the NPP. And it starts from the top. Yaya once sent a senior person from his entourage, because that person actually stood and made derogatory comments about our party leader and our party. And he sent her packing. It sent a message. That didn't mean that Yaya himself did not push this tribalism thing, but at least visually, he took action. In contrast to this one, he claps. And they clap and laugh when they make these comments about us. So we need to change the narrative on them. And the narrative is that when you look at our party, its structures, the representative nature of our party, from ethnic groups to regions, and it's unfortunate we are talking ethnic groups and regions. It should be all about ideas, not Lare Sisay Fula or Lare Sisay Mandinka. But what ideas does Lare Sisay have to bring to the table in order to improve the material conditions of this country? This is what we should be seized with. Not your surname or your geography. That is why identity politics is very dangerous, and people who play it, no matter how they deny it, their intention is to divide us. And we should resoundly reject them and say, we are not interested in this nonsense. What we are interested in is the knowledge, the ideas that you have in your head. Because when you look at UDP, I was telling somebody the other day, they were talking about the composition of UDP's committees and national executive and all. And I said to this individual, just sit down, do a list of all the educated men and women in UDP. I said to this individual, I bet you will come up with nothing less than 25 of them. And each one of those 25s is better than anybody on the other side. So let us change our mindsets and be seized with these ideas and go out there and advocate for them. Because these are the ideas they are very afraid of. When they say we are violent now, I take it colloquially. We are violent because we talk about their incompetence. We are violent because we talk about their indifference. We are violent because we talk about the systemic corruption that they are putting on us. And we are violent because we are against the identity politics that they do. Otherwise, they are the violent party. They are the ones who attack us. They are the ones who provoke us. For us, this is the legacy of the NPP government since they came to power. And I'll qualify that to say since 2018, when UDP left the government, this is what you have. Now, let us remember when we talk about corruption, let us remember that Corruption is a serious betrayal of the public trust. Yalo molke jele la ye lela, ye muta, ye cartel fay, ye palaso dealer. Then you go, you kick them, you become corrupt, and you betray their trust. Tell me, which political party can survive that? Betraying the public trust. This issue that Koto Senu raised about the president's retirement home, have we seen a response from them, official response? It won't come because they didn't think we know it. But honestly, we know much more. And we are going to be talking much more of that kind of behavior from this group of people who have nothing better to do but to find ways and means of siphoning off our resources for their personal use instead of the use of the general good, you and I. The famous line that I normally use these days is, you are all aware of our national debt, the composition of our national debt. Yaya Jammeh in 22 years contracted 46.3 billion Gambian dollars in loans on behalf of you and I. 46.3 billion. At 64.3 billion Gambian dollars in 7 years. Yaya was 43, Barrow 63, 64. For a total of 110.6 billion Gambian dollars that you and I, our children and their children and children's children will have to pay for. Now, if you ask a question that says $110 billion, where did that money go? Has those loans changed the material conditions of all of us? Are we seeing the effects of the $110 billion that they have contracted? You won't see it because most of it is gone. And we are contracting even more loans. I just downloaded something last night where the IMF has given us another 100 million Gambian dollars. I don't know, 100 million US dollars, not Gambian dollars, in their last Article 4 conference here. Now, we are contracting all these loans. You are not seeing the impact on our standards of living. Now, this $110 billion that they have contracted, the interest payments on them annually is $7 billion. That's what we pay as an interest on those loans, $7 billion. Now, that $7 billion is more than the combined budgets of agriculture, education, and health in the 2024 budget. Go check the budget out. Agriculture, maybe about $2 billion. Health, $2 billion. Education, $2 billion. It didn't even consume the $7 billion that we pay in interest rate. So how can we develop with those kinds of expenditure outlays in our national budget system? Now, the 110 billion that I'm talking about is 82%, about 82% of our GDP. Do your simple arithmetic. 100 minus 82, what do you have? 18%, right? So basically, our economy is producing only 18% that is being directly plowed to develop us, because the rest goes to pay for the loans. These are the simple examples of the corruption that we are talking about that you can go and highlight. Now, if you go back to economic theory, political theory, what they are doing can be described as the primitive accumulation of wealth. They are getting richer, we are getting poorer. It's a very primitive way of dishing out the country's money. Now, why is the student wing organizing? I hope it goes to the communities. And we should beat this drum so loudly that even the international community will hear us and listen to us. Now, what are the benefits of that mobilization? We will be politically aware, and when we are politically aware, we'll be able to influence others to think the way we are thinking and to act the way we want them to act. The second outcome is hopefully it will all result into a good, open, transparent, and accountable government or governance system. Transparency, accountability, probity are big issues for this government. They can't be transparent. And we cannot even begin to talk about uh, accountability. The second benefit is hopefully when you talk to the communities, when you talk to among yourselves as students, you're going to get some value systems out of it. One of those value systems is the respect for the rule of law and constitutionalism. Why? Because our institutions derive their powers and legitimacy from the Constitution. Our institutions are run based on the legitimacy of the Constitution. Now, you can question, are these institutions legitimate? Because we are still using the 1997 Constitution. And this is why we are seeing why the government is behaving the way it is behaving. But that 1997 Constitution, for me, is a double-edged sword. You are using it to do the things that you want, but at the same time, UDP is using it to make you resent some of those bad decisions that you have taken. So it's a double-edged sword. They can use the Seditions Act to arrest us and all, or we can use the courts to fight them on it. So why do we have to be subjected to all of these things when a perfectly good constitution was promulgated and we are still unable, after 8 years, we are still unable to bring that constitution back to life? I'm told I have 10 minutes. I will be ready in 5. Now, what are the takeaways here? I have some takeaways, and I want these takeaways to form the basis for some of the engagement we do when we go to the communities. In order to achieve transformative development, we have to have a good, ethical, visionary, and transformational leadership. We cannot just lead. We have to be transformative, because transformation is what the government needs. Change is out the window. It's transformation. The systems are tend to eliminate waste, and they tend to reduce corruption. The third benefit, the takeaway, is a more aware cadre of youths that are politically conscious. They are sober up here. You have to be sober in order to convince anybody to listen to you. And I put sober in there because I see the influence of drugs and substance abuse on our young people. You people should transcend that. The reason why you went to university is because you are sober. The minute you lose that sobriety, you are nobody. You end up falling. So drugs and substance alcohol abuse are a big issue that should drive your decision to say, I'm not going to be part of this. And so you can make a difference. Our messaging to the communities should be clear that we are in a kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. This word came into vogue during Mobutu Sese Seko's time in Zaire. Political analysts, economic analysts all say he was presiding over a kleptocracy. And that's what we have here now. We have a kleptocratic system. And that kleptocracy can be interchangeably used as thieveaucracy, thieves. When we were launching the manifesto, I used a couple of new words. I'm using another two here. I said we were a predatory state. I also say we have been hijacked by tenderpreneurs. Now I'm saying we have graduated to a kleptocratic state that is based on a thieveaucracy. It's actually an English word, thieveaucracy, and it means ruled by thieves. That's what it means. Now, finally, the takeaway. What I said earlier, the ballot box, and our collective resolve to make sure that our votes matter and count by ensuring that our elections are free, fair, transparent, and beyond reproach. In other words, let us demand election integrity. You know, I once said on West Coast, I think it was my second appearance on West Coast, I said that in my view, President Barrow cannot win a free, fair, transparent election in this country. And I still hold that view, so help me God. Thank you.